Hello, photography world. Welcome to the Don't Feed the Photographers Photography Podcast. This is episode number 1, and I'm your host, Josh Ogasso, Atlanta wedding photographer. And I have a very special guest to kick off this brand new show. It is Jesse Moira LaPlante, and we're very excited to have them. I met them recently in Austin, Texas for a workshop. Hit it off, wonderful people. And when you look at their work, you can't help but get inspired. They do a lot of unique things, and we're going to talk with them about their unique process. Uh, Jesse won Artistic Guild, Wedding Photojournalists Association's Artistic Guild Photographer of the Year. So we're very happy for them and very excited to be kicking off the show with such a fun, cool couple. We're going to talk about a lot of things about the process, a little bit about them and their backstory, how they got into photography, their process, how they work together as a husband wife team, and where they find inspiration. We talked about our favorite movies to find inspiration from. We talk a little bit about their process with MagMod, some of their favorite tools. They're MagMod ambassadors, so they got a lot of experience working with the wonderful MagMod tools. I would recommend checking them out on YouTube. They're behind the scenes MagMod videos. They've got some killer stuff. We also talk a little bit about their workshops and what makes their workshop a little bit different. It's called Iconoclasm. So if you're interested in learning from them after checking out their work, definitely go put yourself either on the waiting list for their April workshop that sold out, or put yourself on the email list to get notified when their next one comes out. They're supposed to be releasing dates for the new ones very soon. So definitely get ahead of the curve on that. So definitely worth checking out their work. You can go to j.laplante.com. You can also go to the Instagram at j.laplante.photo. And their workshops is just j.laplante.com/workshops. And then they're on YouTube. If you type in their names, you'll probably find their MagMod videos. So definitely look up the MMA photo shoot. It's awesome how they recommend it. I'll put links to all these things in the show notes. If you go to don'tfeedthephotographers.com, you can find links to all these. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll have the links in the description, hopefully, and then hopefully you can connect there. So thanks so much for tuning in. For future reference, if you, in case you don't hear the end of the episode, I am trying to line up as many interviews as possible and make this a really rocking show. So if you're awesome and you want to be on it, get in touch with me. If you want somebody to recommend, go ahead, have them get in touch with me, or let me know that they're interested, and I'll get in touch with them. And I'd love to make this a series full time, lots of episodes every week to keep you happy while you're editing. So definitely send me some names and recommendations. All right, well, enough of me rambling. Thanks for tuning in, and we're about to get into it with Jesse and Mara. All right, so Jesse, Mara, welcome to the show. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing real well. How are you doing?
Doing awesome. So you guys have the privilege of being the very first guest, the very first episode of Don't Feed the Photographers. So hopefully you feel special. You guys feel
I feel extremely honored. It's
awesome.
been great meeting you, and yeah, we've been looking forward to this.
Excellent. No pressure. The future of the show depends on this episode, whether or not we have
We're gonna
enough
bomb
time.
this for sure, man. This was a
100%.
horrible
Yes.
choice on your part.
Terrible idea.
We'll be good.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about you guys and your business. Yeah, tell me a little bit about you guys, the humans first. I know a little bit about you guys, photography wise, and we'll get into that. But yeah, when you're not doing photography, what are you guys doing?
We like to ski. We live in Colorado, so we went up skiing yesterday actually, and then on the way back down, stopped at a brewery and had a little business meeting at the brewery over a couple of years.
So you have a lot of business meetings there.
Yeah,
It's a good tax write-off.
tax write-off, and we get work done, and it's fun. And there's like 300 breweries in Colorado, so we, try to go see them all when we can. And
Yeah.
read a lot of books, watch a lot of movies.
Nice.
Travel. We
Travel,
love to travel. We're in between trips right now. We have a couple of ideas brewing. I don't want to jinx it by telling you what they are, but looking forward to something big, hopefully later this year.
Yeah, we try to get one personal trip in every year that doesn't have, like, most of our travel revolves around shooting weddings and engagement shoots and things like that. So we like to do like one thing that's just mental health, just for us, that we don't have to bring all of our camera gear and actually be like, we don't take any photographs at all. We unplug from email. We don't do social media much.
Yeah, that's good.
We don't bring our cameras, don't take photos, just to like be in the moment and kind of experience it and refresh,
Yeah, we took a quick trip down to Santa Fe in August. Like quick, I think we were there for maybe 24 hours.
Yeah.
Did a little hike, went to Meow Wolf, and I think it was the first trip in about 2 to 3 years where we did not bring any camera equipment, and it was just so freeing and liberating to be able to like be in the moment and not feel that pressure to take photos and document what we were doing.
Yeah, and taking a break from photography like that too, I feel like it helps you kind of, see the forest for the trees, step back, kind of reassess. If I just shot 365 days a year, I wouldn't be able to like actually, see my progress and see what I can improve on and what I need to do differently. But I think that break is important.
Yeah, definitely getting a little bit of a recharge.
Sure.
Kind of refresh time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and I know, and traveling for work always sounds glamorous. So like the first few times you get like the destination one, it's like, yes, this is so amazing. Then you realize you don't actually enjoy the travel.
No, we had a rough one in St. Lucia last year where we both had bronchitis before, like we got it like 2 days before we went down. We had a red eye from New York City down to St. Lucia.
It was painful. Yeah, there was a baby crying as we were coming down from altitude, and I was like, I feel you, baby. I want to cry too.
It's just not socially acceptable as adults to cry in a plane,
Yeah.
And then day one, I stepped on a sea urchin while practicing some underwater photography that we were going to do with the couple. Like in 2 hours before day one of a 3-day shoot, I had to go see a doctor in St. Lucia and have my foot operated on, while Maura like scrambled to get all the gear together so we could go shoot this catamaran sunset cruise for their like rehearsal party.
Yeah.
Broke a camera, hard drive crashed.
Yeah.
Everything goes wrong when you're basically overseas.
Well,
exactly.
And it wasn't just us, because the groom's sister fell off a dock and broke her leg, and so she spent the entire time in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
The bride got like an eye infection or something, had to take antibiotics. And it's just like the whole thing was just, a comedy of errors. So when we got back, I think we were both immediately ready to say like never again. But we decided like, okay, give ourselves like a week or two to come down from this and readjust, and then we'll decide if we still want to do destination weddings or not.
Yeah, and then within the next couple of weeks, we had a wedding at a venue that's literally a mile from our house.
Yeah, I feel so much better.
Shot that, and Maura came home like during the dinner to turn on the air conditioner or something, or get something to eat, and it's like, wow, this is, maybe the destination photography lifestyle isn't all it's cracked up to be. We'll see here.
Yeah, shooting a mile from your house definitely has some perks. Yeah. Oh, sure. I forgot something. Forgot memory cards. Oh shit, need to go.
Yeah.
Get some more batteries.
Wow. So are sea urchins toxic? Would you have like a big reaction, or was it just more?
Some of them are poisonous or venomous, but this one wasn't. It's just that it went directly into the first joint on my big toe. So it wasn't just like a flesh wound; it was a cartilage wound essentially. And plus, they have bacteria on the spines, so you have to take antibiotics. And we're at an all-inclusive resort in St. Lucia, and they're like, okay, on these antibiotics, you can't drink alcohol or be out in the sun. Wow. Right as we were about to go out on this catamaran.
Hardcore antibiotics.
In the Caribbean. Yeah. And but then one of the wedding guests was an orthopedic surgeon.
Something like that, yeah.
And he's like, let me see what antibiotics you're taking. So I showed him. He's like, yeah.
We're like, we're gonna trust this guy and not the other one.
Yeah, this guy's opinion.
He's confirming what we wanted to think.
This guy's opinion aligns with my life goals here, so I'm gonna believe this dude and not the other doctor.
Yeah, that's always the way to do it. If the first opinion doesn't achieve your satisfaction, find somebody that will tell you what you want to hear.
Exactly. Yeah.
And random side note, can you hear my cat in the background? Just curious.
No.
Okay, good. Then I have a really good microphone, I guess. Now, every time that I'm talking on a Skype call with the clients and my laptop or whatever, the cat somehow finds me and is like in love with like these conversations for some reason.
Yeah.
So.
That should be the title of your podcast. Something to do with cats. You can come up with a pun for that probably.
My cat is also watching the show.
That's awesome.
Most of the puns I've come to mind first would be very inappropriate, so we'll pick it up.
Yeah, mine too, man. We're in the same boat on that one.
Nice. So speaking of breweries, I know we met at the Friends of Fearless conference, which was awesome, and you guys talked about
that was great.
Epic history of trying to make it to the Shiner Brewery.
Yes.
Were you able to get there after?
No, man.
No. So you still have a white whale of getting to the Shiner
Yes,
Brewery.
we still have a white whale. I don't even remember what I think. Oh, it was just because, as you know, there was an open bar at the conference, right? Mm-hmm. And after 4 days of that,
we may have imbibed a little much.
We were just like, we just like
I don't think about having.
We should just go home.
Yeah.
So and then we realized, we're like, well, it's in Texas, so it can't be that far away, right? But then you think, okay, well, Texas is the second biggest state in the union, and it's still like 100-mile drive to get there out of our way, and then turn around and go back to Denver because we were driving. So yeah, we made the executive decision to skip it again. So we still have the white whale.
Yeah,
The
so you still have
weather
that
was
dream.
bad.
We'll get there one day. The weather, yeah, it was just pissing rain everywhere, and it's like we just decided to pack it up, call it a trip, and head home.
Yeah.
Nice.
We'll get there one day.
You'll
Yeah.
still
Thanks
have
for
something.
asking that.
Yeah.
and
I've been
highlighting
thinking about
our-
it ever since. Does it have that shiner? No. No, that used to be one of my favorite beers way back when in college.
Yeah.
It started
It's
to
a-
become way back when. Huh?
Well, it's super solid. I like
Shiner
it.
Bock
Yeah.
is great. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a good drinking beer.
at this point, though, it's not because it's not necessarily because we like the beer so much. It's just the whole like mystique now surrounding us.
Exactly.
Because the last time we were 5 miles from being there, and our car broke down, and it had to be towed back to Austin.
Yeah.
And then, so it's been a long journey. That was in late
It's
2013.
still a long journey.
And the journey is still in progress.
Yeah.
Yes. So someday before your deathbed, you'll be like 80 years old.
Exactly.
Go.
The dying wish to visit the Shiner River.
We'll make a movie, a film.
There you go.
Jesse's Last Brew.
It'll be the most boring film ever, but it'll be meaningful to us.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. So, I guess a little bit about all of a sudden lost my voice as soon as the next question.
That's
came
how
up.
it always happens, huh?
We have honey and lemon tea here, so
Nice. That's a good
in anticipation of this.
episode 2. I'll be more adequately prepared with my liquids. Just had a mug of ice water that I've already drank it all. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, cool. So, how about a little bit about your background in photography? What got you guys interested in starting in the first place? When did you first pick up a camera?
So my parents are both artists, and I spent a good portion of my childhood kind of traveling around the country to art fairs and music festivals and things like that. I missed so many days of school. They ended up homeschooling me for a few years. And so as a result of that kind of lifestyle, I was exposed to a lot of different creative mediums from a very young age. And I always knew that I would do something sort of artistic with my life, but I never knew exactly what it was going to be until I went to college, took a bunch of different classes in Michigan, and really enjoyed the photojournalism classes that I took. So I assigned my journalism major and graduated with a BS in photojournalism, journalism with a concentration in photojournalism. Shot for newspapers for a couple of years, and then in 2008, when the recession hit and all of the whole newspaper industry started kind of sliding down the backside of the hill, I realized that I was going to have to kind of find some other outlets for not only creatively, but also for making a living, feeding myself, and all that good stuff.
He has no other marketable skills other than photography.
That's basically it. Yeah, I can juggle, but not well enough to get paid for it. So,
You'd be surprised.
what was the question?
Depends on what you're willing to juggle.
How did you get into photography?
Okay, that's how I got into photography, and then we started our wedding business in 2008. So this is our 13th year now.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I got into photography because of this guy.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you could say that I picked up a camera before I met him, and then I think when we did our first wedding, I've always been in the event industry in some way or another. My family owned a restaurant growing up. They had a catering business. I planned events when I lived in DC, and so it was just kind of an easy fit. So when he booked the first wedding and was like, "Shit, what do we do?" I kind of helped put together a timeline and went along to help with like the family photos, that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, he handed me a camera, and I was like, "Shit, what do I do?" And just kind of trial by fire and thrown in on the deep end and had to figure it out.
I remember I wrote out, and we still have it in the bag as like
Yeah.
a memento to remind us how far we've come. But on just a piece of
Spiral bound notebook.
spiral
paper.
bound notebook paper, I wrote out like all the apertures, and all the shutter speeds and ISOs and exposure equivalencies and all those things. And like arrow was saying more light, less light, greater depth of field, shallower depth of fields, blurred motion, stop action this way.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we still have that. Maura still has that in her
I
camera
take it to
bag.
every wedding.
Nice. And she has to pull it out to remind you every once in a while,
That's
right?
exactly.
During
During
dancing, I'm holding
Yeah.
it up.
she's like, Jesse, F28. Come on, man.
Nice. Yeah, I had a similar story with my wife. I basically threw a camera and just like, you could just help me in my first couple, and she hated it. It was just too terrifying. And ironically, she was like a natural photographer. Like, she went to art school for graphic
Oh, wow.
design. So
Nice.
yeah, she's naturally good at like composition, but she just had no idea how to work the camera. So she like hated me for having her do it. But if we didn't have kids, she probably would have came around and
Yeah.
viewed.
And I'm not going to lie, there was, I think, probably about 3 or 4 years in. So I was still working a full-time job at that point, and I was managing a summer internship program, which meant that the summers were just crazy busy because Monday through Friday, sometimes the weekends, I was managing this internship program with, 20 undergraduate and graduate students. And then I was helping him shoot weddings, and I would get to the end of the summer just completely fried. And I know there were probably a couple of times when I would throw a fit like a little toddler, saying like, you have to find someone who can actually take photos, someone who's a photographer who knows what they're doing. And he would always be like, no, I think you can get it. It's infuriating. He does this all the time.
Yes.
And the one time he was like, okay, fine, I'll find an actual photographer. Probably 24 hours later, I'm like, just kidding, I changed my mind. I actually really want to do this with you.
Nice. So called his bluff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, or you called her bluff at work.
Yeah, he did. And he does that all the time. I mean, with the website, if we're trying to change something and I can't figure it out, and I'll do my little toddler fit and I'll say, we have to hire someone who does this. And he'll be like, you can figure it out. And probably within 24 hours, like something comes to me that I can figure out how to fix it. So.
Nice. So you sound like you have a very nice supporting husband there, I would say.
Thanks, man.
Yes, it can be infuriating.
How supportive he is.
I believe in her more than she believes in herself.
Yes. I believe in her more than you as well. So we're good.
Oh, well, I appreciate all the support.
Nice.
Wink.
So yeah, I've always liked I've had a slight jealous or envious thing of all the husband-wife teams. I think it'd be cool to have that like consistent team that you can always count on when you're both invested. So how have you guys enjoyed it overall, other than having to force her and drag her into it?
I do it willingly now. Yeah.
Now you're dragging him along. Right?
Yeah, there's pros and cons to every situation, of course. Like you said, with the communication, it's key because basically we don't even have to verbally communicate anymore. She just knows, like if she's lighting something, she just knows what it needs to be and what modifier I need to be. And we just have like this unspoken kind of communication now, whereas I hear stories all the time of people that have to find like second shooters for every wedding. I can't imagine shooting with a different second shooter every weekend and having to start all the way from the beginning, to explain like what our style is and what I like to do and how all the gear goes into the case and all that kind of stuff. So from a logistical standpoint, it's phenomenal. On the flip side, you have to take time apart or else you'll bite each other's heads off at a certain point, right? Because we live together, we work together.
We travel together.
Yeah, travel together. So but like every week, one day of the week, I'll go down and work in my studio in Denver. So she can have the house to herself to just
it's just
have
nice
her
to
own
have
space.
Quiet.
Exactly. Kind of recharge a little bit. And then similarly, she'll go to a coffee shop one day so I can have the house to myself.
Or a brewery.
You said coffee shops.
So
she's holding that on. Have you been to Shiner?
Yes.
Yeah, remember those 3 days where I'm like, I'm going to let you have the house to yourself for 3 days. Just like drove straight down to Shiner and back.
Yeah, so it's important to take time apart for sure. But all in all, though, working as a husband and wife team is pretty damn good.
Yeah, and I think that it helps us learn how to work through things faster because on a wedding day, there's very little time for us to be pissed at each other.
Right.
So we learn pretty quickly that, a lot of times throughout the wedding day, we are absorbing other people's stress. The bride, mother of the bride, mother of the groom, the planner, all kinds of people come to us freaking out about, fill in the blank, whatever there is to freak out about on the wedding day. And we can't reflect that back to them. We have to just sort of smile and absorb it and be like, everything's going to be fine. And so the only person you have to reflect that back to is each other. And, early on, we would start doing that and just kind of bicker. And we realized that what's important is to understand, first off, that it's not about the person that you're yelling at that moment. So if I'm like yelling at Jesse, he knows that it's not about him. It's because I've just been dealing with this cluster all day. And also find a way to remind ourselves that we're on the same team. You know, we have the same goal. So if I need a moment to just vent and just get it all out, and then say, okay, now we have to leave it and we have to move on and move forward and figure out how we're going to do this.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably a big learning curve there, just navigating all that. Because I'm sure if my wife stayed working with me, we might not still be married. So
yeah, well, I mean, it took a while. It's not like we just jumped into it and knew what we were doing right away.
Right.
We had to learn on the job for sure. And
right.
like I said, this is our 13th year now. So
nice.
But you know, it's still a work in progress.
Right.
Yeah, and you get to see each other, and at the same time, I think it'd be cool to share it because it's such a big part of your life, and creatively and inspirationally trying to have somebody that understands what you're going through would probably be pretty beneficial.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I've only shot a few weddings without her.
Yeah.
Including like the first one I did in Michigan when it was just a friend when I was working for a paper, and you know, she was like, "Hey, will you come shoot my wedding?" And I thought, yeah, why not? That sounds cool. So I completely lost my train of thought there. Sorry.
You only shot a few without me.
Oh, right. So I have nothing to compare it to. Yeah, because I've never done it the way that you do it. So
I've shot.
It's like apples and oranges for me because I don't have experience in both arenas.
Yeah, I've shot 200 without Moira. It definitely sucks.
I was gonna say, tell him it's really hard. Tell him it's hard.
If we could all have, it's. I have every year I feel like I get like one person that can reliably count on like for half the weddings or so, and then they're not available. And then you have your couple that work well, and then all of a sudden nobody's available, and you have to get a stranger, and that's always the most stressful because they don't. Even if the looks like their work's good, you don't know if they're actually gonna cover stuff that you think they're gonna cover. It'll blow your mind how many times you'll have people like not shooting things that are obvious to shoot, you would think. So that's the stressful part, is not knowing if you can count on somebody.
Have you ever had anyone just not show up?
I haven't had that, no.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
That's still
that'd be my big fear, because like we leave the house together with all the gear to get to the place, and sometimes we'll have to drive through a blizzard or something like we did last weekend going down to the Springs, or like up over some mountain passes. So I just feel like I would be really stressed that if my second was meeting me there, 20 minutes before we had to start shooting or something, that would just be like a ball of nerves.
Yep. I'm always nervous they're not going to show up. And if they're like 5 minutes late, I'm like inside freaking out. Like, it was just 5 minutes late and they're not.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I usually start about 3 hours before he does. So sometimes I'm nervous that he's going to be like, I'm going to go drink instead.
Yeah. So I did have one who bailed on, but he said he got the flu like that day and bailed on the day. And so I had to like call people to find people for me.
I feel like if you have the flu, you need to shoot that wedding. That's part of the business. You can't delay the wedding. It's like whatever, unless you're in a horrible car wreck or something, like you got to shoot.
Adrenaline is a powerful drug, and it can get you through it. It's the best cold medication.
So is coffee. Take a 5-hour energy or whatever it is you need to do to just like power through, and then heal yourself the next day.
A little bit of bourbon if you need it.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, you always got cocaine. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's what we do usually. That's the secret to the whole thing.
The secret.
Yeah. Do you guys have a pretty close-knit photography community out there?
I feel like there's a couple small little bubbles of people that kind of stick together. We used to have a really good group that was meeting all the time, and then the people that were running it kind of got busy, I guess, and it's kind of fallen off a little bit. So hopefully we'll kind of get it up and running again. But luckily I've got a couple really solid friends that usually I can count on for most of them. And it makes a big difference if you have somebody when you can count on. So like to take risks. So all my best photos is because I knew somebody was there to back me up. Like I could count on them actually getting the safe shot, so you can go for it. So I think that'd be the best part about working with each other is knowing you could go for it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a huge, I mean, there's a lot of benefits to this now that I'm realizing, just that you don't think about, because like I said, I have nothing to compare it to. But yeah, being able to like, all right, I'm going to climb up on that tree or whatever and get like a helicopter eyes view of the bride walking down the aisle. And I have no idea if it's going to work out or not.
Exactly.
If it does, it's going to be awesome. And if it doesn't, I'm not going to get any shots of that happening. So then to have someone that knows, that can kind of like have your back and pick up the slack in that situation, that's important for sure. And having to communicate that to a new person every single week
Yeah.
It's got to be tough, especially if they're showing up 5 minutes late. And it's like, we need to shoot. You don't even really have that time necessarily. Although I'm sure you do prep work maybe a little bit ahead with them to kind of like set expectations. But that's a whole other dimension to this that we don't have to deal with for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I could probably do a whole episode just on horror stories of like when I've had people I didn't know, and how many times I just like you would think that it was all obvious stuff that they don't do, like showing up wearing flip flops or totally not shooting stuff. Like the people are cutting the cake or their speeches and they're just in the back, like not shooting at all. Like, what if I missed it? I have no backup. But
Anyway,
like
like
doing
Instagram selfies.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
Hashtag second shooter.
Yeah, just milking the clock. But
yeah,
it's funny. That's got to be rough, man.
Yeah, I'm making it sound worse, I guess. I'm lucky I got a couple good, reliable people.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you ever have to just find a random stranger, you definitely want to prep them and cover your bases, because every time I've had somebody random and I miss something, I'm like, oh, you got it though, right? Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you here for?
Yeah. So, exactly.
But what? Yeah.
What are we doing again?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, because we've been able to develop a process that I think is different from others. So I think even if he did have to find a second shooter, it would be difficult because, unlike a lot of people where the primary photographer does the bride getting ready, I do bridal prep, and he works with the groom and the groomsmen. And so finding that sort of balance and just like the way that we structure the wedding day, it's structured so that we can shine in our best skill set.
Right.
And I think that would be really tough to find a second shooter that could just fit in there. So you probably have to change a lot about how you shoot.
I mean, even a lot of during the whole portrait session, I tend to, in Colorado, we have all these sweeping mountain vistas. So I'll shoot a lot of these portraits from, 50 feet, 100 feet, 100 yards away, and I can't even communicate with the couple. So Maura lights the couple, poses the couple, talks to them, keeps them kind of like looking natural and all that stuff. And if I just brought in someone new and put them in that situation, they'd stand there with the light like this.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I just like, come on, I need a little help here. So then it would be like a whole bunch of more stuff that's on my shoulders. And I think the work would suffer a little bit because of that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So now I'm feeling like I need to convince my wife to join me again after all these pros and cons. But I guess, the one pro, I guess, of me working with different people all the time is I've learned to be more in charge of everything. So I guess so I can I'm more comfortable shooting a wedding by myself probably.
Sure.
Than I would have been otherwise, just because I'm used to, if it's somebody new, then I don't know if I can count on them. Then they're just there for extra, and I still get everything. So
yeah, and it's always challenging you to like come up with new and unique solutions, which helps your brain grow and like grow as a person and as a problem solver, I'm sure. So yeah.
So you're saying I can sit the next one out?
Yeah.
I'll sit the next one out.
Oh.
Nice. Yeah. So with your work, where do you find? I think your guys' style is really cool because it's like a combination of you have some fun, getting some creative stuff, but then you still have a lot of nice, authentic, natural, happy moments, candid stuff. Where do you find your inspiration for all your fun, creative, or even in general? Like where do you guys find inspiration for your work?
Yeah, I think we pull it from all sorts of sources outside of the wedding industry. Of course, we're inspired by other photographers as well, but like a big one for me is just watching movies. So I watch a ton of movies. I watch like probably 200, 250 movies a year is like one of my favorite things to do.
So don't have kids because that'll end. That's the worst part. I love having kids, but like I don't get to watch movies anymore. Like we took a day off, or I had my wife took a day off for us to have a day date, and that's what we did. We just watched movies. So I finally got to see Joker.
Nice.
That's the first new movie I've seen in 5 years.
So how many times have you seen Frozen 2?
20 at least. Oh well, Frozen 2 maybe only twice because we watched what's already out on streaming. So but Frozen, the first one, like 20 to 50 times. Yeah, because with kids they fall in love with the movie, and then that's what you watch for 3 months, and then they get the movie.
That's got to be tough. So for me, like I'll watch a lot of movies, and a lot of the times I won't even really know what happened in the plot afterwards when I'm finished, which drives Maura crazy because then I'll be like, hey, who was that one guy that did the thing, and why was he? And she's like, wasn't that obvious?
You rewound that scene 3 times and you didn't get it?
So it's because I tend to like just look at it like a 2-hour painting or something almost. I'm just like looking at the color schemes and the way that the camera moves and the lighting, and all that kind of stuff. So I draw a lot of inspiration from just watching movies, and not necessarily intentionally. It's just that's kind of the way that I absorb that
Yeah.
art form.
I would think about that a lot too, like, because if you realize watching movies how much effort goes into the visual, the cinematography, and it's everything that we do, but they're, I mean, the highest level professional at like composition and lighting, and
Yeah,
I think like you could really learn a lot from that.
absolutely.
And speaking of
Yeah.
the painting, you saw, like, have you ever seen the YouTube channel Every Frame of Painting?
No.
You would love it then, because it's like he breaks down movie scenes, famous movies or whatever, based on this composition and cinematography of it, and really deep dives into it. It's really good. So I think you would.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Can you like put that up on the screen?
Yeah, I'll have to put that in the show notes, which we'll have links to.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, that's a good one for looking for inspiration. What's your favorite movie for maybe that one that you found the most inspirational?
I have a long list. I'm super nerdy, so I have an IMDb account, and I like keep my top 10 favorite westerns and my favorite sci-fi and all this stuff. A recent one that we saw that just really knocked my socks off was 1917.
Oh, I can't wait to see that one in like 12 years.
Oh
Or the next date day, I want to watch that one too.
man.
So it's really good. It lived up to the hype then?
And so much more. Yeah, I mean, I didn't even really know about any hype aside from like I knew it was nominated for some Oscars, but yeah, it's not a true one shot, but it's kind of set up to look like the whole thing is a one shot. I think there's maybe 5 or 6 cuts or something like that in the whole movie, or maybe more. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the cinematography and the choreography and the acting, the production design, like so it takes place during World War I in the trenches, in France, I think. And a lot of those movies, they tend to like build a like 30-foot section of this trench and just flip the camera around and get different shots. But they built like 2 miles of this thing, so you could just track characters through it, and just thousands of moving pieces with the war scenes. Like Saving Private Ryan was always my favorite war movie for 20 years, but I think this one has kind of supplanted that as my new favorite. And it's not even really, I guess I wouldn't even call it a war film. It's more just like, it's really intimate and personal. It's really just kind of like a human film. But from a photography standpoint, the cinematography in it is absolutely incredible, especially in like the scenes in that ruined city.
The nighttime scene.
Yeah, where they have these flares. It's a nighttime scene. They have these flares coming down, and the way that it's like reflecting light throughout the set. Really, really mind-boggling stuff. Like I wanted to get the Blu-ray or whatever so I could watch like all the behind the scenes, how they made it, stuff, because I can't even wrap my mind around it.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds awesome. The whole one-shot effect, even if it's simulated part of the way, but how much coordination needs to go into it. It sounds pretty fascinating. Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned like you don't even half the time remember the movie because you get so sucked into the cinema. Have you seen The Revenant?
Yes. So it's very similar to stylistically as far as the way the camera moves, like The Revenant, and Iñárritu's other films like Birdman and 21 Grams. I think he did stuff like that. Like they're all kind of that similar style. Or Children of Men is another one that was kind of shot like that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, The Revenant, outstanding for sure.
Yeah, that one was one that I thought the story actually when I slowed down and actually thought about it, I was like, yeah, the story's okay. It was a little bit cliche. Like it was okay, but I was just so blown away by the visuals the whole time.
Exactly.
I thought it was the greatest thing ever. And I was like with my wife and her family, and they're all like, "Nah, it was okay." Like the whole time I'm like, because I appreciated what they were doing. Like it was a lot of one shot, but then to be able to get the scenery they did while making you feel intimately into the story. So like they don't usually shoot films that way where you're like 18 millimeters in somebody's face.
I know.
Yeah. So that was really cool to like have Leo in your face in the camera, but then you still get all the scenery in the place that he's in. So I was just like jaw dropped all the time.
Yeah, I know. It's like I have the same thing. You talking about your family being like, nah. I have the same thing. Like friends will ask me for movie recommendations or whatever, and I'll be like, 1917, you have to see it, or The Revenant, you have to see it. And they'll be like, that was okay, but did you see the 7th Terminator movie? That was awesome. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, we have a different perspective. Yeah, being
exactly completely different perspective. And there's a time and a place for that stuff too. Sometimes I like to just go zone out and enjoy a big blockbuster.
Right.
But yeah, as far as like inspiration for photography goes, the movies like The Revenant in 1917 and dozens of others.
I think also one of the more recent ones that, so in Colorado, we deal with a lot of really harsh light because the sun here can be just relentless in the summer. In the darkest hour was a really good one to watch, just as a study on harsh and interesting light, how you can use light to get sort of a, to get tenebrism in a scene. That I would say that that's definitely one where I kind of lost track of the plot, just because it seemed like every single shot was just beautifully done and kind of in the style that we tend toward for our wedding photography.
Yeah, that's the one with Gary Oldman playing Winston Churchill.
He's awesome.
It takes place during the same time frame as the Christopher Nolan movie Dunkirk, but it's like from the prime minister point of view of it. Yeah. So yeah, definitely worth a watch. Great movie, but also for the lighting stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I think I'm gonna make more of an effort to watch movies for that effect. I think I had that inspiration when I was watching Revenant. I was like, I need to watch movies more for photography inspiration because it's
for sure.
That and I don't know if you guys watch Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul.
Yeah, I did. I watched Breaking Bad, and I just started the. We don't have TV, but I watched it on Netflix when they released it. So they just released the 4th season of Better Call Saul. So I just started that yesterday, actually.
Yeah, their cinematography is so cool. They do a lot of clever, quirky, unique. Like they find clever, quirky, unique places to put the camera in.
Yeah,
and their use of composition and color I find inspiring. And I think it was actually Better Call Saul, the one where I was like, they put the camera like basically in the corner of a room, like in the ceiling. So like the ceiling is leading lines into the corner.
Yeah.
Stuff that they use angles that most TV shows or movies wouldn't use.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Nice. So yeah, now I need to get a movie festival and get re-inspired. Get the kids to sleep early so I can start watching movies again.
Or just don't sleep, man. Yeah. Just watch
Get
3 movies at night.
Yeah, some of that cocaine.
Yeah, that's healthy. That's a sustainable lifestyle for sure.
Yes. I mean, all I have to do is pull up old advertisements from 1912 that'll justify that it is healthy. Yeah. It used to be like the biggest health drug ever. Like it was touted everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, didn't they used to put it in Coca-Cola?
Yeah.
A little bit or something?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
An old lifestyle.
No, they
I've heard that. I think it was officially the truth. If it's not the truth, we'll establish it as the truth.
Yeah, it is now.
Okay, that's the truth.
I've heard it enough times. I've heard it 20 times. It has to be true.
Yeah.
We don't need to corroborate that.
No.
Yeah.
You have a fact checker, right? You got the budget for that?
Yep, I got a whole crew in the back.
It's your cat.
Yeah, my cat. Nibbling on my
fact checks.
Yeah. Put the kids to work. Make them worth their food.
Earn that roof over their head.
Awesome. Cool. So with your photography craft, we talked about your inspiration a little bit. Is there any like favorite go-to technique or favorite, since you guys are MagMod people? I like how you cleverly have the MagMod in the background.
Placement.
Corporate sponsors.
Yes. What would be your favorite MagMod tool?
Oh man, I feel like it's just MagMod as a whole and the versatility of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we use, that's the mag box up there. We use that a lot, obviously. And you can put, with our new mag ring bracket that holds the lights, you can put 2 lights in it. So like Morris said, we have to shoot in bright sunshine all the time. So we can put 2 80-200s in there, which gives us 400 watt seconds. Nice. And then with the focus diffuser on the front of the box, which gives you even a little bit more juice. That's kind of our go-to for shooting daytime portraits. And in Colorado, we have 300 days of sun a year. It's very rarely cloudy here. And we're almost always doing those portraits at like 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m. between, in the spring, summer, and fall.
So you're fighting the sun a lot, huh?
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I've used that setup one time, but it was a little bit shady, so I haven't fully got to put it through its paces to do the 280-200s and the focus diffuser.
It's impressive in what it can do, but
it's powerful. Yeah.
Nice.
I think outside of the mag box, the rest of the system is useful, because anytime, like, so we did a wedding in the Springs last weekend, and it was with a couple who was just willing to try whatever we wanted to do. For their engagement session, we put them on a trampoline with holy powder at nighttime and just did some crazy acrobatics. So we already knew that they were down to do a lot of different cool, crazy things. So Jesse had come up with 3 ideas that he wanted to do for nighttime photos. And of course, each one required a different modifier. But I love the fact that we just grab the lights, we decide which modifiers we need, and I just shove them in my pockets. And then we can just go and he'll call out something and I can easily swap it on. And then it's like, okay, take the sphere off or change this gel out for this other gel. And it just, I mean, it works so seamlessly that, you know, the couple doesn't get bored, or in the case of last weekend, frozen, because it was really, really freaking cold after the sun went down. Because we can move so quickly and efficiently that they barely even know that we're doing, you know, like 3 completely different shoots with multiple different angles and compositions.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I think even just the simple, one of my favorites is just simply the gels, just because it's so easy. Because I used to always would always tape gels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, like the old crappy Honel or whatever grid, and so just grids and gels. So I use that pretty much like all day.
Yeah, we do too, with, you know, because there's the correction gels. We're using the CTOs a lot to match color temperatures, and the creative gels to get a little more creative with color and things like that. So yeah, it's like 90% of our day. I feel like we're using some kind of gel on there, you know. And if you have to put it on the Velcro, you probably just ain't gonna use it.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was super cool when that came out, just to make that stuff easier.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and it's fun because when we're doing more creative portraits, it's a way for us to involve our couples. If we're backlighting something like snow or rain, we can ask them like, hey, what's your favorite color?
Right.
You know, we can let them pick the color, and so then it means a little bit more to them. Or we can look at, you know, what are their wedding colors, so we can kind of match it to that. So
exactly. If it's like a boring reception venue and they don't have uplighting, we can create our own uplighting just by putting flashes on the floor with whatever colored gels match their kind of vibe, and, you know, create our own uplighting that way. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've been meaning to try that trick out a little bit. So you're getting the uplighting. There's one venue in particular where the backgrounds are always terrible. So next time I go, I'm gonna have to use that.
Yeah.
And speaking of your holy session, I checked that out when I was scouting out your work before this. So you have something unique with your engagement sessions. You call them alt sessions. So is that all your sessions you call them, or is that just like, you know, for your cool couples, they kind of clever branding?
It's both.
Yeah.
Both of those things are true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a few years ago, we got tired of doing just kind of the same old engagement sessions that, you know, it just felt like almost like a, you know, factory where it's just the same photos of different people. And we had a couple who reached out to us because they owned an MMA gym, and we were actually talking about this before. And they wanted to do an MMA photo shoot for their engagement session because it was a very important part of their relationship. And so we're like, yeah, sure, we'll try it. And we ended up spending, so before then, I think we limited our engagement sessions to 2 hours. I think with that one we did 5.
Yeah, we had a few different locations back in the day where we would just kind of go and shoot for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And we were just like, this, you know, if we're going to keep doing this and maintain our sanity, we're going to have to kind of like start getting more creative and shooting a little bit for ourselves. Although the MMA one was their idea, that wasn't even our idea, right?
I think that's the beauty of it, is we realized that engagement sessions, if we stopped looking at them the way that it felt like everyone else was looking at them, like this is what an engagement session is supposed to look like, and started looking at it as an opportunity to do something that not only we enjoy and something that feeds ourselves creatively, and which is also usually something that we don't have time to do on the wedding day. That overlaps a lot with our ideal clients, you know, wants for their engagement photos. They want something different. They want to see photos that they don't want to go to our website and see a photo on there and be like, hey, that's my photo, but that's a different couple in it. You know, so we give them every single couple something new and different. I have a phone call with them to talk through what it is they want to do. We have a list of ideas that we want to do, and we just find something that works for everyone, which I think is, we're so lucky that we've been able to do that, because they love the photos and we enjoy the process of doing it.
Yeah, and either we incorporate some sort of activity that they like, so it's more personal to them, like the MMA gym shoot where they just like fought each other and we took candids and set up a portrait here and there, or go skiing, or play paintball, or go to a baseball game, or whatever it is they like to do.
The Holy Powder was a fun one.
Or go to some like really ethereal, epic location, like sand dunes.
Bonneville Salt Flats.
Yeah, Bonneville Salt Flats.
Yeah.
National parks, things like that. Or just do something really avant-garde, like the one we were talking about on the trampoline that we covered in holy powder and had to bounce off of it and fly up into the air and have all this colored powder go around in the air. So
Or we did a
Yeah.
paint water balloon one too. Which
Yeah,
was
we
a lot
filled
of
water
fun.
balloons with
Yeah, I
paint.
saw that one on your Instagram a few weeks ago, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I saw behind the scenes. I don't know if that was, if I'm thinking the same one. Were you throwing water balloon at them? Was that Jesse in the
Yeah,
back?
that was
Yes. That's why we
Yeah.
do it. We're like, hey, you want to do water balloons? And
Yeah.
it's just a veiled excuse for us to check water balloon people.
That
But
was a photo that I took myself out of to deliver, but I
Yeah.
thought the look on my face in that shot, just chucking that water
Yeah.
balloon, was like, that's a great behind the scenes shot.
I will say, I mean, like in general though, that one was a blast because I think
Yeah, that was just water. Yeah, you're
yeah,
right. That
we
was just water.
all felt like kids again.
Yeah. So it's
Just-
almost like a date for the couples instead of just a photo shoot, right?
Mhm.
They're just
It's
goofing
an
off and fun.
experience.
And
yeah.
instead of like
Experience,
having them
exactly.
show up and be like, okay, stand here and look at the camera, and they're like, what do I do with my hands? I don't know what I've never,
Yeah.
because they're not, people aren't models.
Right.
Starting out with something that's fun, kinetic, and energetic, and gets them moving, they forget almost immediately that you're taking photos of them.
Yeah.
So do you, okay, so you said you start out with something fun. So do you not like start out with a couple basic ones just to cover their bases to get their traditional and then go fun, or is the whole thing just going crazy?
Well,
It's different. It's different every time.
yeah, the water balloon one was a great example because we started out with water balloons
Right.
in a field at sunset,
Mhm.
and they had like, it was a difficult place to find, and they ended up like on the opposite side, so we were running a little bit behind. The sun was rapidly dipping below the mountains, so by the time we were ready, like we had to start shooting. We couldn't really shoot the shit with them very much, and so we dragged a cooler full of water balloons out. I think we had like 200 in there.
Yeah.
And we just said, okay, go pick them up and throw them at each other. And they just like, and they told us later, like having to just dive into it like that and just go for it really got rid of the nerves because
Yeah.
they couldn't think about it. They couldn't overthink what they were doing. Like, where do I put my hands?
Mhm.
What does this look like?
Yeah.
Takes them
And
out
so
of the
by the-
photo shoot. Yeah.
Right.
exactly. And by the time we did the first portrait, they already had like 10 minutes of intense cardio,
Mhm.
so like
Yeah.
they're breathing heavy and laughing, and they're
endorphins.
wet, and the endorphins and adrenaline are going and all this stuff, which is like a great recipe then to move into portraits, because now they're loose and they're not like all those nerves that have built
Mhm.
up on the car ride over have completely dissipated.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's definitely a good point. Chad. A way to get them loosened up. So you do like all the crazy fun stuff first, and then you get some traditional stuff later, or do you just not do any traditional?
It depends.
If we do traditional stuff, like every now and then we'll be like, okay, we'll do a couple for
Yeah,
posterity,
just to cover your bases. I figured. Yeah.
just so that we don't get an angry phone call
Mom.
from your mother in the 2 weeks or whatever when we deliver the gallery and there's nothing in there that she recognizes as even being an engagement photo. But it's not something that's on the forefront of our mind.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. That's interesting.
Occasionally we'll do something a little more quote unquote standard for these more avant-garde photo shoots, just because that's actually an easier way to ease people into it. The avant-garde ones are so out there and they're really hard to describe.
Right.
Like the couple who did the holy powder on trampoline, I mean, they were up for anything, but it still helps to sort of ease people in and have that conversation and hang out. And here in Colorado, I mean, it's easy to just like, quick, let's go for quick hike and get some views at sunset and just kill that time while the sun's going down.
Yeah, and we'll also bring alcohol so that it's like
liquid courage.
Yeah, liquid courage that
for
goes
them
a long
and
way.
us.
So instead of like they show up and we just start shooting, sometimes we'll be like, okay, we've told them to get there 30 minutes before we actually want to start shooting, based on like where the sun is or whatever. So we have time to like just stand there, talk a little bit, get to know them, share a drink, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nice. And so, well, it's kind of cool that you kind of just all in on it, because I guess I'm in this in between no man's land zone where I'm trying to push more creative and funky stuff, but then I'm still shooting all the safe stuff. So it's hard to like fully get there if that's not, because I'm afraid of fully committing and scaring everybody away.
Yeah.
You can't attract people without scaring some people away. So that's
I think it could be good sometimes to be polarizing.
Yeah, for
There
sure.
are a lot of people who look at our photos and are like, no, I don't understand it. Like, how's that a wedding photo or how's that an engagement photo? And that's fine, because there is another photographer out there who's perfect for them, but we're not that photographer.
Yeah, we don't do a ton of weddings. We do very few shoots every year, actually. But it's more of like a, kind of quality over quantity type of situation where, we don't have like, we drove down to White Sands National Monument, which is like almost to Mexico from here. So it was like a 6-hour drive one way, stayed there. So it's like a 3-day thing. We procured the permits and plans, stayed in a hotel, went and got dinner with them. So we just can't do that too many times in one year.
Sure.
So yeah, it's more like we do fewer shoots, and we're a little bit more selective about, you know, the work that we take on. And it's sort of, like Maura said, kind of cut out the people who just want the traditional stuff, which is
Right.
perfect. And there's plenty of people that we can recommend, we can refer them on to if it's not a good match. But for us, it's about, you know, really finding the people that are a perfect match for us, because then it's going to be a better experience for them, and it's going to be a better experience for us.
And you get to be who you are and get all this
Exactly,
your style, because that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm getting more and more of the percentage of my couples are my couple, but I still have a few that aren't, and you're just like, yeah, they're not wanting me to do what I normally do, and it kind of is like killing the soul a little bit. And yeah, I think what's important for us to always remember is like you can't turn people on unless you're willing to turn people off. So like,
yes, I love that, man. You just summed it up in like 6 words. We could have cut out that whole conversation.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna edit this episode to where you guys only talk for 2 minutes and the rest. Secretly, this is all about me.
Yeah, but I think that authenticity is important, because when it comes down to it, what we're doing is still art. It's just art that's attached to a specific event. But as with everything, everyone has different tastes for art. So that means that if you're authentic and you're who you are and you're shooting what you like to shoot, I guarantee that with very, very few exceptions, I guarantee there are couples out there who will love you for what you shoot and want you as the photographer, and not just hire you because they're looking for a photographer in their price range
that they found on a list somewhere. So that this way you're not competing on price, you're competing on the work.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool that it's working out for you guys. I found that inspirational. I thought it was cool that your whole brand around alt sessions, and if you haven't seen it in the audience, people that are listening, you definitely would be worth checking out their website to see some of their alt sessions. And you guys also have
scenes too, because the behind the scenes of those alt sessions are also just about as good as like the actual photos.
Yes, with Jesse looking very serious about throwing water balloons at people.
Serious business, man.
Yeah,
if you're gonna do it, you better do it right, you know.
Yeah, and speaking of behind the scenes, in case I forget to mention it elsewhere, there's a really awesome video that you guys did for MagMod where you're doing with the MMA gym, kind of showing off the gym and kind of flexing your creative muscles there. So if you really want to get a feel for their style, if you're listening, definitely go check out their YouTube video on behind the scenes. You really get a feel for their cool, fun style and what they can do with MagMod. Or what you guys can do. It was pretty good.
Awesome.
Cool. So I had you guys share 2 photos real quick of what are, I guess, your favorite photos. So we can kind of talk about them a little bit, maybe why it's your favorite, what inspired you for it to be your favorite, anything that you could think of sharing about your process. So if you're just listening to audio, you're kind of, I guess, missing out because you don't get to see them, but they'll be in the show notes. Don'tfeedthephotographers.com. You'll be able to look at the photos and all the links to the stuff we've talked about, like their MMA video and everything else. So you won't have to fully miss out. You can go check it out. So all right, let's see. Hopefully I got this technology down where I can share, and we'll do ladies first. So this, I believe, is Maura's. And can you guys see it? Is it working?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Looks good.
Hopefully it's working on the video for the audience too. But.
Yeah. Okay. So favorite photo. First off, it was really tough to pick a favorite. Like if you'd asked top 10, it would have been a lot easier than just one. But for this one, I just kind of went with my gut. And it's really hard for me to pick out what exactly I love about this photo, except that I just look at it, and every time I look at it, I'm like, yes, I love this photo. I think it's the composition, it's the lighting, but it's also, most importantly, I think the moment. This was the bride's grandmother, and this was just a moment before she walked down the aisle. And so there's that element of, you see the old with the new, someone who has a lot of history and a lot of advice and knowledge to pass on with someone who's just embarking upon a new adventure. And I think that it just, I don't know, not to pat myself on the back too much, but I think I captured that perfectly.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it too. Stuff like this, I think, is why we do what we do. The eye candy alt stuff that you guys do is definitely part of the fun of what we do. But I think this is what gives it the meaning and stuff like this.
Sure. Yeah. And that combination of the two is like what's so cool about wedding photography in general.
Yeah. I think that's what's kind of cool about the 2 that you selected, is you're showing the meaning and the fun, because Jesse's got a really good creative photo that he's showing, and it's kind of motivating for me because I started out photojournalist kind of like you, and then I was like, well, if I'm going to be good at photography, I got to do all this like flashy stuff to impress people. So I got all in on that. And then I was like, so I was always one or the other versus like combining the two. So I'm kind of getting back to that where it's okay to do both.
Right.
You don't have to be just a storyteller or just an artist. You can
Oh, for sure.
Well, and we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, where one of the nice things about wedding photography is it does challenge you to do all kinds of photography: landscape, architecture, journalism, studio,
Fashion.
portraiture, fashion. You kind of take it all, but it also gives you that flexibility and creativity to put it together in like new and interesting ways. And then add on the challenge, because we're gluttons for punishment, of doing it under the time pressure of a wedding day with all kinds of people, asking for things from you and, needing to divert your attention to all different places. So being able to come up with something that really combines it all in an interesting way, I think we like a challenge,
Yeah.
Definitely. I think that's the best part about weddings. It really test your will and your skill.
Yeah.
Pressure. Sure. Anytime I do anything else, I did like a senior portrait recently, and I'm like, that was just easy. Like I feel like it didn't work. Like what?
Right.
It's supposed to take longer. It's supposed to be more stress. It was like everything was good light. Everything was easy.
Yeah. It's like I can still walk upstairs the next day. Like, did I not do enough squats?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. When you do back to backs, that's when you start to feel 30s is getting old. He's like, all it is take pictures. Yeah. The first time I was laid out from a wedding, I'm like, what? It's just taking pictures, right? Underestimated how tired it can make you.
Oh, it's incredible.
Well, and you're dehydrated on the day of because
you
don't drink enough water and probably didn't eat enough, and
Well, it's so it's physically and emotionally draining at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. When you're using your creativity and pushing yourself to that level, it kind of tax you emotionally for sure. Cool. Well, awesome work, Mara. I love this moment. I'm sure they appreciate it. When you get to capture people's legacy like this, in the future when her grandma's not with her, I'm sure she's going to cherish that.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right. So cool. Then I'll pull up Jesse's, and is it working?
Nope.
Okay. So hold on. I think I have to stop sharing and then reshare. Cool. All right. Cool. Now it should be.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. Cool. I don't have to fire myself yet.
Cool. Or your cat. Cat can be
my cat. My cat did it. Stupid. So what before I guess steal your thunder, I was letting you talk about it. But one thing that stood out that I thought was really cool about this photo was that I liked it just as much or better the second time. A lot of times when you see photos, it's like they're awesome and they catch your attention, and then you look at it again and you find something that it just wears off. And when I saw it the second time, I liked it even more.
Oh, cool.
That's kind of a cool compliment, I guess. But the fact that it looked like a sunset, so you got the night sky and then the sunset. That's what and of course the dog is a really cool touch.
Yeah.
Nice touch on the dog, Jesse.
Yeah. At first I was like, oh, it's cool night shot, cool light sky, and then the second time I pulled it up, I was like, I love how it's like looks like a sun setting and the sky above them. But
yeah. So story behind this one is this was way out in the middle of nowhere in Colorado with a very little ambient light, and we'd kind of talked to the couple about doing a star shot at the end of the night, and party was kind of winding down, and I was just sort of like walking around waiting for the moon to set. So it's actually the moon lighting them.
Oh, cool.
Because the prevailing wisdom is that you can't shoot the stars when there's a big full moon up, because I think this was like 1 or 2 days away from being a full moon. And then I realized as I was walking around that it was setting right in this ridge, right in this little picture window, and that maybe if I put the couple up in this picture window, I could actually silhouette them against the moon before it set. So I radioed Maura. We have these walkie-talkies that we use on a wedding day because we shoot in so many places without cell reception. And I was like, grab the couple, bring them up here right now. The moon's going to dip behind the horizon in like 3
minutes. You had like 2 minutes to work with, probably.
And she's like, no, but you want it to dip behind the horizon. And I'm like, damn it, Maura, just bring the couple. So they come running up the hill, after a whole night of partying. They run up there, get into position. I think I maybe got like 3 frames off. I just jacked my ISO through the roof and shot like maybe 8-second exposures, whereas usually when I'm shooting stars, it's more like 20-25 seconds.
Okay.
And for this frame, their 2-year-old dog ran up there with them. I'm like, the dog's gonna ruin it. But the dog stood next to them And as I released the shutter, the dog stood perfectly still for the entire 8-second exposure. Now, if this was a flash exposure, they wouldn't have to hold still, right? Because the flash is freezing them. But since it's purely ambient light with the moon backlighting them, they have to hold really, really still. Otherwise, they're going to look like ghosts, right?
Holy
and
cow.
most humans can't do this at the end of a night of drinking, right? But this
I can't do it
2-year-old,
Yeah.
this 2-year-old dog did it. And the shutter, the exposure ended, and I looked at it, and I was like, "Oh my God!" The dog held still for the entire 8 seconds.
Wow.
And the cherry on top is that the dog's name is Luna.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice.
And backlit by the moon there, so it really felt like serendipity. This one, which is why I don't know if it, like Maura said, I don't know if it's my favorite. It would be easier to pick my top 10, but
yeah, for sure.
It's definitely way up there for me.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and when you hear the story behind it and the how everything lined up for you so perfectly, I'm sure it's one of the, every once in a while you get that photo where you just like do the fist pump after because you can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, you can prepare and you can, have the right gear and practice and have all the talent in the world, but a lot of it is luck in the end.
Yeah.
And then I'm glad you corrected my terrible science on it being a moon versus sun. It looks like a sunset, but obviously it would be impossible.
A lot of people do think
I think you could, like, if you did it, you could probably do a composite.
Yeah. So I would have guessed just because of the dynamic. Did you push this probably to get the moon exposed enough, or was this able to be pretty even exposure?
So the moon was even brighter than that compared to the stars. So I had to dodge it down a little. Dodge, burn, I can't even remember which is which now because it's been such a long time since I've been in the darker.
Okay. You had to push one level.
Yeah. And then it also, color temperature wise, it was quite warm as compared to the night sky, just because moonlight is reflected sunlight. So Kelvin wise, it is a little bit warmer, but I, obviously kind of juiced it up a little bit in post too.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting too, because you imagine the moon, normally you think of it as a cool light source, I guess, when you look at it, and it is somewhat, but relative to what the sky, I guess, in the ambient would be, it would be warm. So it's a
exactly.
cool.
I wouldn't have guessed that before I took the shot, but I took it and I was like, the moon actually looks almost a little warm in this. So then I decided to kind of play that up a little more in post.
Yeah, it makes sense, the physics of it. Yeah. Cool. The secrets that you can pull out when you with photography that you don't see.
Right.
Yeah.
But awesome. Yeah, I really love that one. And kudos to the couple for running out and trusting you. That's the idea of having your brand, is they know probably, right? Just, I got something cool. They're like, we're in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and that's where, like doing the quality over the quantity and making sure that we're a good fit for every couple that hires us really comes into play, because the biggest thing for us is we need them to trust us, so that when I run up to them during the reception and I'm like, we got to go now, they know that it's for a good reason. And it doesn't matter how many whiskeys they've had, they're going to drop whatever they're going to do. They're going to stop talking to, Aunt Nancy and just go with me and not ask any questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it definitely looks like it's working out for you, because you got some incredible work.
Yeah, it is
definitely
so fun.
Keeping tabs on you guys, seeing if I can get some inspiration. Yeah, it's tricky when you find inspiration, because I never want to copy something, so I won't use water balloons because I've seen you do it. So I have to come up with something else I could throw out a couple, maybe some fruit. I don't know.
Unless we do it first.
Yeah,
you gave us the idea.
The race is on.
Find a very soft, squishy fruit. Yeah, it's mistake number one.
Well, we always say, like, it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Yeah,
so even if you take a general idea, like how many movies have been made about World War I, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds, I don't know. But no, they're all different. And like, no movie did it the way the 1917 did. It's not a good movie because it's about World War I. It's a good movie because of, all the artistic and scientific choices that went into shooting it, so it's less about the subject and more about your technique, I think.
Yeah.
So feel free to do those water balloons, just do it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Come up with my own.
Yeah.
Own twist. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing. Those are definitely very inspirational images. And if you were listening, didn't get to see them, definitely check out the show notes or their website. You could probably figure out which ones they were. And the clues, go on a scavenger hunt. Cool. Is there anything else about like your photography that you would want to share, or anything maybe that's unique to you guys, or? I've kind of got a good feel for what's unique with your alt sessions. That's definitely gonna get unique.
Yeah, and I think just overall, we try to run a pretty high touch photography business where, we mentioned it more than once, it's the quality over the quantity. And so in minimizing the number of couples that we work with, it means that we can give a really meaningful and unique experience to every single one. We put a ton of work into every single wedding, just the lead up, talking to the couples. Our goal is to really get into their minds and know who they are, what they value, and like what are their photographic priorities. Why are they having a wedding? There are a million reasons to have a wedding. Why is this couple having a wedding? And that way, on the wedding day, we can really personalize our process to make sure that we're focusing on the things that are important to them.
Yeah.
Get
How
to
do
know
they
who they are.
How do they choose their venue? All those things. What parts of the wedding are important to them? Like, are flowers important to them? Are flowers not important to them? Is photography the most important thing when they're just like, do whatever you guys want? We just want cool photos. Like, that's our ideal client for sure. Yeah, just in limiting the number of weddings we do per year, it gives me this like enough mental bandwidth to get creative and try new things on each wedding day. Whereas if we were shooting 50 weddings a year, not to knock people that do that, I'm sure that people that shoot 50 weddings a year, it just wouldn't work for me. I need a little bit more time and space to think and assess and step back and come back to it. If I was shooting every single weekend, I feel like I would just kind of break up the same shots.
Yeah, you'd start your tried and true stuff. You don't have time to play and think.
Right.
I've definitely found that as I've gotten closer to 30 weddings, that I'm starting to get less time to think individually about each client versus, you try to, but sometimes you're just keeping your head above water and you're like, oh yeah, I got another wedding this weekend. And then you kind of just show up and do your best, but it's the same thing that you did the weekend before because you haven't had time to invent.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how many weddings do you guys do a year?
20.
20. So it's still a decent amount to like not feel like you're not working, but a good break in between them all.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
If we could get down to like half of that.
Oh really? Yeah.
If we could, eventually double our prices from where they currently are and do half the weddings, that would be even more ideal, I think. And we don't do an alt session for every one of those 20 either. We do maybe half of them, 8 or 10 a year. Something like that, just because they do take so much time and planning and just like all the logistics on your part and all the, she goes back and forth phone calls like, what's your crazy level 1 to 10, jumping on an plane or like going to a brewery being 1. And then they come back with a few ideas and we have ideas and we have to like check permit situations and figure out travel and book hotel and, all these kinds of things, figure out what they're going to wear. If it's a trampoline holy powder thing, we have to procure holy powder and find someone with a trampoline, and then like go back the next morning, or Maura does, and clean the trampoline for 2 hours.
Trampoline was owned by a friend of mine, and so I called her up. I was like, I remember a photo that you posted on Facebook of your teenage sons on a trampoline. Do you still have that trampoline? Can I borrow it for a photo shoot? It's going to go late into the night. Is that going to drive your neighbors nuts? And she was so gracious in letting us use it, and it didn't. So and I love those challenges. They are a lot of work, but I will say that that's one of the things I love about my job is when we come up with ideas with the couple, we don't put a lot of limits on it. We know some general guidelines to say like, okay, if we're going to a national park, there will be a permit, but I don't like to limit them. That way that if they decide on something and I'm thinking like, oh my God, how are we going to do that? That's the kind of challenge I love doing. That's what feeds me, is figuring out those creative solutions to something that people think you can't do.
Yeah. And it's, we always kind of say like we don't want to do more work. We want to do more fulfilling work.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's, periodically we'll get an email that's like, hey, we would like to book a mini session with you,
Yeah.
We're like, what do you mean?
20
minutes.
A few photos.
We just want a few quick photos of the family or whatever. Yeah. It's
like not our style.
No, but we a lot of good photographers that we can refer you to that love doing that kind of stuff. But it's not going to be a great fit for us. We won't even I'm not even really good at doing photos like that, to be honest.
Yeah, got to stay in your sweet spot and feel fulfilled. Definitely, it keeps you going, keeps you motivated when you're constantly being creative. And that's been my goal for 2020 is say no to all the crap that I don't want to do anymore, just to fill in extra money or whatever. It's like focus on what I'm best at, what I like the most. I can't remember who said it. I heard it from, I don't know, some guru, somebody that's author, entrepreneur, somebody, and his slogan was, it's either hell yes or no. So if it's not hell yes, it's no. So I've been saying no to a lot more like silly things, like local Mexican restaurant wants a couple pictures and like, meh. Unless you want to have fun and go crazy with the pictures. But
yeah. For us, it's like you said, it's hell yeah. It's all in or nothing.
Yeah.
Like if we're gonna do it, we're gonna pour every ounce of ourselves we have into it.
Yeah.
Or not at all, but and nothing in between.
And I think that's a really interesting thing is we're actually both fairly competitive people. We want to be the best at what we do. But going back to like working together, we're lucky in that we're competitive in different arenas. I love taking photos and I always want to be, I want to keep getting better, especially because I want to get good enough that I feel like I'm putting pressure on him to keep getting better as well. But really where my value comes from is on the business side and the client experience side and just figuring shit out side. And that's also what I enjoy doing.
Yeah, our skill sets complement each other really nicely. If it was a Venn diagram, it would be two circles that like barely touch on the edge, which is cool. So this way we don't butt heads on a lot of things. Yeah. Like she said, we are very, very competitive and very intense people when we're working, but
nice.
But yeah, we're not necessarily competing in the same arena.
Maybe driven is the better marketing term.
Driven.
We're driven.
Yeah.
I said competitive first, but now like driven has that positive connotation.
Yeah. Driven is just you. Competitive, you want to beat them.
Right.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you do. I mean, maybe it is the best. So yeah, I'm competitive with myself.
Yeah, that's a good. I would say, yeah, that's the only person you should compete with, really, especially in an industry like this, right?
Okay, great story about this because Jesse's best competition is also himself. We were skiing yesterday, and there's this new run that we found at Keystone, and
well, let's give credit where credit is due.
Right. Okay.
Our friend Devin in Denver, another photographer.
Devin K Photo.
She's from Colorado originally, and she had this like secret run. She showed us. We can't say the name of it online, right?
Nope.
And it's like, it's a black, but it's groomed, so it's super fast. And I'm a speed demon. I'm an adrenaline junkie. When I ski, I like to ski. I like to pretend like I'm in the Super G in the Olympics, But you like, I have to either do that at 8:30 before people show up because you can't do that when there's other people on the run. It's too dangerous. Or find like this out of the way type of run.
Where no one's there. Yeah. So we were going down this run and one of us like, well, how fast do you think we're going? So we started on one of the lift rides up, we started Runkeeper because you can track how fast you like your top speed. And so Jesse went down, we were riding back up and he's looking at the Runkeeper and he's like, what did you make? 50?
It was like 49.88 miles per hour or something was my top speed, and I was like, I gotta beat 50.
Yeah.
The next time I was just like balls to the walls,
And he beat 50, and then the next ride up he's like, now 55. And I had to put the kibosh on that. I was like, no, because we have a deductible, like
exactly,
weddings that we have to shoot, we have to go to WPJA, like we can't just try to make 55 miles an
hour. Yeah. And it's but like if you're running a marathon or something, you're not competing with the best person. You're competing against your personal best time. And I feel like that's a good philosophy for anything that we do. Comparing yourself to other people is just tricky. We're all so different.
It's tricky for sure.
As long as you're constantly improving, I think that's the most important part.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's hardest thing sometimes for people to stay focused on because, in this industry, because everybody's putting their work out there, it's so easy to fall in the trap of comparing yourself to everybody else.
Yeah,
definitely battling that myself. And then I'm way more hard on myself than everybody else.
For sure. I mean, when you're seeing other photographers' work, you're only seeing their best stuff. When you're looking at your own work, you're seeing all the mistakes you made.
Right.
You're seeing all your fuck ups,
Yeah.
So then you don't look at yourself with the same reverence.
For sure. So after this, I want you to share me all your fuck ups too. That's all I've done is look at your work. Your highlights.
Oh man,
you don't want to see it, man.
How much time do you have?
I know, I feel you, dude. Like when you go through that cycle, like when you first start Ag Wedding, you're like, God, I suck. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
And then by the time you send them the slideshow and it's got the music and everything, kill it. You're like, I'm awesome. And then next wedding, I suck again.
Yeah, I was culling through my photos from this last wedding, and then I gave them to Jesse to do the final cull. And I didn't say anything, but he came back. He's like, "Yeah, I think we rocked this wedding." And I'm like, "Thank God," because when I gave you the photos, I was like, "I don't know if I like. Are these good? Are they not?" It was just when you spend so much time with them too,
Yep.
and with all the outtakes, you
For sure.
lose your sense of place.
Well, what's that quote about art being the intersection of absolute narcissism and crippling self-doubt?
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. That's so
Yeah.
perfect.
It's like I tend to spend most of the time in the latter camp, but every now and then it's like when you get that final product, you're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
okay. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it lets you feel good for about an hour, maybe a day. Well, how
Yeah.
long? Oh, I forgot to mention, well, I guess, in the beginning of the show to congratulate you on the Artistic Guild Photographer of the Year.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
cool. Hopefully you let that, last for a day at least before you started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been trying to make a concerted effort to like celebrate small successes like that
Mhm.
because I have the tendency to just be like, okay, well, now I got to get working on next year, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can't let somebody else win next year.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
So I
It's
guess
at
I
least,
am competitive. I don't know.
yeah, it's
Driven.
at least a medium
Driven.
success.
So we'll take a little bit of time to enjoy it for sure. And we're
Yeah.
getting better at that.
We do have a bottle of champagne in the fridge. Maybe we should have, what is it, Wednesday champagne to celebrate?
Is it Wednesday? What day is this?
It
I
is
think it's
Wednesday.
Wednesday. Yeah, you could pop it on camera. It'll be how we end the show.
Then I want to spray it, and then I'd have to clean it up
Yeah,
after.
we're in our office right now, so I don't want to bring this computer outside.
Yeah. So I lost all your files because I crashed the computer with champagne.
About that wedding and all those cool photos that we took that were so great. They're gone.
No, we back up religiously.
We do.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're
for sure.
we're over preparers.
I have
We're
like
both,
5
yeah.
drives every
I drive my wife nuts.
offsite.
yeah,
'Cause
pretty
I'll-
neurotic type A.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll have my offsite hard drive, and so I'll bring it in the house, and make an extra copy of them.
Yeah.
And I'll leave memory cards in my car. So if I put the hard drive on for the offsite one in the house, and I start backing up, and then we go to leave, I go, oh shit, I can't. I have to wait till their offsite's ready, and I could put it in the car. So we'll turn around. We'll be like 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Turn around.
That happens to me all the time for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After a wedding, we'll be going somewhere, and he'll hand me a hard drive, and he's like, "This one's for you. This one's for me. This one's in the car.
Yeah.
This one's in the house." And I want to get one of those like suitcases that you handcuff to your wrist and just carry it around like that.
Like when we went skiing yesterday, so I have a studio offsite that I will go and back up files there. So I have 2 separate locations. But if I can't make it to the studio before we say go skiing, like yesterday, I'm skiing with a hard drive basically in my pocket, like a SSD, so it's not rattling around. And there's one in the glove box in the car, just like to be absolutely sure that, if the house burns down or something and the car gets stolen, then I got the one right here.
So just don't fall.
And, yeah. Well, I did hit 55 miles an hour almost. I don't know if you heard about that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes. Next time it better be 60. All right.
Stop it. Stop it. We have a deductible.
I have to get new skis, I think, for that. I maxed myself out.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I don't know if I'm an adrenaline junkie enough to try that.
It's fun though.
Yeah, mostly because I know how uncoordinated and clumsy I am. So it wouldn't be the speed that scared me. It'd be my proclivity to fall and run into trees.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That'd do it.
Cool. Well, the backup strategy is definitely appreciated for your clients. And the first thing I got a raid and did all the like 5 backups at my computer, and then went to sleep. And the first thing I thought of the next day is, what, my house burns down. So I'll say, figure it out. One little trick is having the 2 cards. Everybody pretty much probably uses 2 cards nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So right after the wedding, one stays in the car, so you automatically have a backup. Like immediately.
Sure.
It's another quick tip. Well, cool. That was awesome to hear a lot about you guys and your work. Keep you too much longer. So, but I definitely, before you go, let you talk a little bit about your workshops. I know you've had some success. I've heard good things. It's iconoclasm. Is that right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Cool. So now I know how to say your name. I know how to say your workshop. We're good to go. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about your
Yeah.
work.
You
Sure.
want to
Yeah.
take it? Or?
So we teach workshops. So if any of this stuff resonates, we'd love to see you at a workshop one day. Our next one is in Denver in April, and it is sold out. We're lucky enough to be hosting Dave Moss for the 3rd day of the workshop. So we'll be teaching the first 2. Dave Moss will do a business coaching day on day 3. If you haven't checked out his work, he's with Abby and Dave, another couple team based out of Canada. But he's also a business coach, particularly for creative. So we're excited to have him come. We have a couple more that are in the works right now, and we will be announcing those dates pretty soon.
Yeah.
So the website is j.laplante.com/workshops. You can sign up there and be the first to hear about when our next dates are going.
Yeah. You can also jump on the wait list for the April workshop that's sold out. Or you can just sign up and get an email notification as soon as we announce the next date, so you can make sure to be the first one on the list.
Oh, and we'll be talking at WPPI as well.
Yeah, is this going to air before WPPI?
What is that this weekend?
Nope. We spoke at WPPI. All right.
We are speaking and or already spoke at WPPI.
Or in the past, either way, there will be words.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if
We covered all our
WPPI has
bases.
not happened yet, we'll be giving a presentation on reception lighting in a MagMod booth on Wednesday.
Wednesday. You
Don't
sign
know
up
the
for-
date. 28,
It's right
27.
there.
Oh, it is right.
It might
there.
be
The
a-
26th.
The 26th, Wednesday the 26th at
Yeah.
2 p.m.
And I do think that MagMod records those, so you could probably go watch them.
We don't know that for sure.
Maybe.
I would show up in person and check
Sorry,
it out.
Trevor, if I promised something that
Yeah.
you're not doing.
Show up in person or buy a time machine if I don't get this stuff up started.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the theme of the workshop, like you said,
Oh,
iconoclasm.
thank
So this is an old term that kind of colloquially now just sort of means doing your own thing, kind of questioning the status quo, finding your own unique voice. The wedding industry kind of tells us that we need to be doing all these different things, need to shoot to get published and take a million detail photos. And, but that's not necessarily what drives all of us as photographers. So
Mhm.
it's the theme of the workshop is basically finding your own unique voice. We're not teaching you how to be us or to shoot like us. We are showing you how we do all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But we're also helping you kind of figure out who your ideal client is, how you can do more meaningful work and get more joy basically out of what you're doing, so that you're not just kind of like doing the same thing that everyone else is.
Yeah, I like that. Cool. Kind of ties in with your whole brand of doing things differently, alt sessions and
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. I'll put that info in the show notes at don'tfeedthephotographers.com as well. And I'll link it when this is up on YouTube, probably in the description.
Perfect.
Something like that. Cool. Well, thanks so much, guys. It was a pleasure chatting with you. I could
Thanks,
probably chat with you all day. You guys are easy to talk to and fun.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. It really is kind of like an honor to be the first one.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing it, and I hope it grows. And
It
looking
grows.
forward to
And
seeing
then
it.
if the first episode only has like 10 listeners because I'm brand new, I'll let you. I'll republish yours later again.
Nice.
I was gonna say, I mean, we could come back.
Hi, Mom. Thank you
after-
for watching.
Yes. We will
could
at least
also-
have 4 visitors. Our parents, your parents will be good.
We could
Nice.
also come back after we've finally gotten to the Shiner Brewery. You could
Yeah.
always say that is the next time that we're invited back is only after we've been to
That'll
Shiner.
be the year 2087.
Probably.
We're going to be walking around like this.
We'll all have cameras in our eyeballs by that point.
Yeah. Photography won't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
It'll just all be VR.
Yeah. VR, Google Glasses, you'll just think
Yeah.
Right.
it'll happen.
Recall
so-
every memory you've ever had.
Yeah. So yeah, when we're world famous and I have 1 million listeners, then I'll have you guys on again.
Awesome.
Reward you. You'll be the recurring yearly guest.
We're recording this, right, so that we have proof of it.
Proof, yes. Yeah.
Don't forget the small people when you blow up.
Yes, the big people. Well, you're already a photographer of the year, so you are the big people. So
Aw,
we're
well, thank
definitely blessed to have you guys start out the show with us, and I look forward to talking to you guys again. And awesome. So thanks so much, guys.
Yeah. Thanks a
you.
lot, Joshua. I really appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, everybody that's tuned in and made it this far. I greatly appreciate you lending us your ears to give us a listen and learn a little bit about Jesse Moira LaPlante. If you love the show, please give us a like, subscribe, comment, share, rating, all those things. Any type of participation will help the show grow, so I greatly appreciate it. And just to follow up with all of the information that we got in the show, links to the videos I talked about, every frame of painting, things like that, will be in the YouTube description and the show notes at don'tfeedthephotographers.com. And also to find Jesse and Moira's information, you go to j.laplante.com, on Instagram, j.laplante.photo, and workshops, j.laplante.com/workshops. And also give them a look on YouTube, search for J. LaPlante MMA, and you'll find that really cool behind the scenes on their MMA shoot. It's awesome. Definitely worth the check. And if you love their work, definitely subscribe to them as well. Sign up for the workshop. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So thanks again for tuning in. Hit us up next time. We have new episodes coming out very soon. If you know anybody that you want to be on the show, tell me to get in touch with them, or tell them to get in touch with me. Recommend people. If you're awesome and you want to be on the show, hit me up. I want to be recording lots of these episodes so that when busy season comes out, we still have lots of good stuff to listen to while we're editing. So thanks so much. Everybody in the photography world, get out there shooting. And remember, don't feed the photographers.